Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Together podcast, a sacred space for the soul of your relationship, where we get to deepen in the felt sense of love and intimacy together. In today's episode, we have a deeply heartfelt and inspiring conversation with a couple that we supported in our 6-month container, Majie and Shaeah. They are an incredibly radiant couple joining us from their jungle home in Costa Rica. And for them, what began as a dream to co-create a life in a new land turned into a powerful journey of growth, vulnerability, and healing. They open up about what it really looks like to navigate the sticky parts of love, not from a place of breakdown or crisis, but from within a relationship that's already rooted in deep care and commitment. You'll hear how building a home literally and emotionally can bring up old wounds, new dynamics, and also opportunities for profound connection. If you've ever wondered what it's like to turn relationship challenges into transformation, or how to truly return to love again and again, this one is going to be for you. Let's dive in. Welcome, Majie and Shaeah. God, it's such a pleasure to land here and to connect in this way. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
It's fun, exciting. Yeah, and they're joining us from the beautiful jungles of Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for those of you that are listening, Majie and Shaeah were in one of our 6-month containers, and just getting from our vantage point, getting to watch the transformation that they've gone through is just been so beautiful. So we felt inspired to have them on and just ask some questions. For you two, so that you can share your story, and those listening, can just feel into what the work is.
Yeah, and one of the things that we just loved about working with the two of you and why we felt like, oh, they're such a beautiful story to share with other couples and other people that are on the journey of sacred relationship is, there's so much in the relational world where it's like on the brink of separation, like fighting all the time, like unable to connect is sort of like the classic, the kinds of things people are talking about. And what we feel drawn to support and what we really saw you embodying is a beautiful relationship with so much love and resource and so much beauty, and the sticky places, the places that are challenging, the places that when you're in them, you're like, oh my gosh, are we ever going to move through this place? And I think that's a really important story to tell, because we don't need to be on the brink of, everything is awful to dive into healing. And actually, what we feel really excited about, and we really saw this in working with you, is when a couple is in the place where there's also lots of love and there's also lots of resource, that's actually when we can actually do the deeper work of those really deep patterns, those core wound places. And that place where, when we're journeying in relationship and there is a lot of love and resource, then stuff is going to come up too. So it was so beautiful to support you and journey with you. And we're like, we want to share this love story with people. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And just to name, I haven't met a couple yet to this day that doesn't have the sticky places. Like,
Yeah.
we get this beautiful honor and privilege, to support you guys here and to support other couples, and we have ours.
Yeah.
And so this is always a good conversation to dive into and to get a sense of what can shift and change when there's that foundation, that golden thread of love already there.
Yeah.
Which we really enjoyed getting to feel from you guys.
Yeah.
And so maybe a place that we could start at I'd love to hear, before doing the container with us, what were some of the aspects of the relationship that were really satisfying already?
Mhm.
Me? You?
Okay, I'll start. Well, I think we had a lot of similar values. Our commitment to communication was to clear and honest communication, and to support each other, to love each other was really an important foundation, and it's always been there. And so that kind of hadn't gone away, but it was definitely a little bit um, challenged in this difficult period when we started to do some work with you guys.
Yeah, we were realizing a dream together too, which was really exciting and adventurous and wonderful and challenging at the same time. So yeah,
The dream being moving to Costa Rica.
yeah, building.
Mhm.
And they were building 2 houses, moving to a new country, yeah, building 2 houses. So you were in the, like, the crunch, which is so often that is when stuff arises, right? Is when it's like there's an external stressor, and moving is one of the top ones, actually, they say one of the most traumatizing things because there's so much around it. And so you were in this, like, discovering and building of a dream, but also there was sort of the crunch that came up in that.
Yeah.
Well, uprooting our whole lives.
Yeah.
Moved to a whole new country, new culture, new language. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
got my mom as well. So that's was in the mix as well.
And on top of that, that's the one piece is the transition part. And the other one was, and this is what we really describe as one of the qualities with evolutionary couples is you were co-creating. Like you both were building that house that you're now in together. Like the design features and what goes where, like that's gonna bring up all the stuff is trying to build a unified vision as two different people.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the things I really appreciated about you when I was getting to know you both was just feeling how much work you both had already done on yourself. You had lots of
Mhm.
tools in your toolkit, right? But it was like you were at this place where it's like, that's not enough. We're needing support in these places. But it was really beautiful to feel that you also had lots of tools and you had lots of things, like you said, like honest communication and really intending to, practices that you do in your daily place. So I'm curious, what were some of the sticky places, if you were to describe a little bit, what was the challenge that led you to be like, okay, we need to bring someone in for more support?
Yeah, well, we kept experiencing the same triggers, same patterns of triggers and like power struggle, like you said, like in co-creating something, even though we were very unified in our vision, there were certain decisions that we had to make that we kind of were like butting heads and
Yeah, there was kind of a communication breakdown. There was a way in which we were each of us were kind of lacking in really true listening, making space for the other one in a really genuine way. And there was very quickly kind of defensiveness,
frustration,
frustration.
disappointment.
We felt stuck. There was a breakdown in communication, and there was a feeling of stuckness, and our sense of safety with each other had lessened. And so when sense of safety lessened, everything good lessons. The sense of play, of creativity, of nourishment, goes down. So that's where we felt like, yeah, we're not moving forward. We need some help.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And I'm curious, were there any other patterns or sticky places in there that really stood out?
So yeah.
Everything became very serious all the time and like hard. Not everything,
Not
not
everything, but
everything, but there was like a pervasive like
business.
yeah, we
Business.
were detail so many things we had to
Yeah.
decide and
So many details.
so we
In a new culture and all that jazz. And me speaking okay with Spanish, but Cheyenne not. So there was a power of influence there too.
yeah, I felt reliant on him for a lot of things, but then I'm stronger in certain organizational
Yeah.
aspects, so he was reliant on. So there was like a sense of I don't know, yeah, vulnerability, I think, in both of us in certain areas. And so I think we felt, yeah, too reliant on each other, but not together. I don't know. It's hard to describe.
Yeah, the sense of togetherness wasn't as strong as it had been before. And
Yeah.
I was stunned. I was like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
We swear. We swear.
Yeah, we swear on the show.
Like, grasps the feeling
Really
inside.
hits home on the feeling of those places, those crunchy places.
Yeah.
And from my remembering, you were listening to our podcast during this time. You had the awareness. You knew you were like, okay, we need support here. And I'm curious. So when listening to the show, what came up for you guys, or what was the ping of like, oh, I think Courtney and Mike, I think they're the ones to work with. Like what was it for you guys there?
Yeah, well, it was a friend of mine who told us about you when I was telling her about our struggles, and she's like, "Oh, I recommend you listen to your podcast." And so we started listening to it, and
Yeah, I mean, for me there was a real kind of sense listening to your podcast of safety and compassion, and even the way that you would bring personal example and to illustrate some stuff, and I could sense a real level of professionalism, and the fact that you were working with attachment issue, and that you were very somatic. And I'm a psychotherapist. I have working with individual. Um, Almost 30 years of experience. I'm just retired, but and I could see, oh, those people, they're good.
they know
They've
there's
and they flow really well together.
yeah, there was
Yeah.
this great sense of like togetherness, like
Yeah.
the name of your podcast. Like there was a sense that you were really unified, really listened to each other. There was really great communication,
Yeah.
really playfulness.
You displayed,
Yeah, demonstrated the quality of
yeah.
relationship that we admire and
Yeah.
respect. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And I'm hearing in that the longing too. Like, I love hearing there where you knew that you wanted to be more together, like to feel that feeling of flow.
Yeah.
And I want to just speak to this just a little bit of like this education piece too, is when we're in the crunch, like in relationship, when we come into these life moments that like moving, like where there's just added stressors, right? For some people, it's like when they have a baby or when they, right? Like there's these different visions that come in, and our nervous systems are in this more heightened state. That's when our material comes up more. Like that's when, the old patterns that we're like, what? I thought I healed this, or like, what? Why is this here? Like they come to the surface. And then that's when it gets a lot harder to find our way together, because suddenly now, this new material is here. And though in it, like we talked about in your container, is that in some ways it's like, ah, shit, this sucks. But then in others, it's like, oh, yay, like we get to work on this more. Like it's like do we choose to kind of like take this and make it into medicine? And what I hear in that is that's what you decided to do, is instead of, what some couples do in that place, right? Is they just create more space, they get more distant. That's how they cope with it, right? And they sort of like go more into their own lane. But what I hear is you're like, no, we want to have love, we want to have togetherness, and so we're going to do something about this.
Yeah. And it was a slower turnaround for me, because I also, like, if I was running, being in Costa Rica, I was running on 1,000 units of dopamine all the time. And then there was all those issues that would come up. So I was like, what is going on? It took me a long time to get to, okay, this is an opportunity for further healing. It was clearer for you than it was for me. I think because I was at some point running on so much dopamine, it was hard to put two and two together.
Yeah. And you're describing beautifully the common dynamic between the masculine and the feminine, as the feminine generally does see it first. More of a that organic orientation around the connection, like the family unit, the bond. It's like, thank God.
Mhm.
Um, and then sometimes, not always the case, us men are, yeah, there is a wisdom there. We'll drop, put down the weapons and be open to this. Because just to name, when you described the piece that was, a bit of the challenge, those power dynamics just really do speed things up so that the healing can't happen. It ends up being, these little inner kids kind of battling each other. And it just goes a little too fast, which, we've found it's so helpful just to have those other nervous systems to be like, help slow the field down, so that you guys can return back to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You two did so beautifully.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love one thing that really hit me when I was listening to one of your podcasts is you said when we stuck in something or activated in one of our pattern, you consciously go, okay, let's take a breath and let's return to love.
Mhm.
And that's really got, oh yeah, right, that's it.
Yeah.
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 The return to love.
And the quality that's needed to find our way back to each other in our bodies, right? When we've gotten really far away is like to re-find that safety, is a journey. I wonder if you would be open to going a little more in detail as you started to work on the patterns, what were you becoming aware of was actually happening for each of you in the dynamic?
You want to start?
Yes. So there was this pattern of like something would happen and then I would get really activated and I would get like I would get frustrated or disappointed or angry even, and I would like freak out and go
Yeah.
like really big in my emotions. And it would kind of, well, most often be directed at Majie, and he would feel blamed and made wrong, and then he would get defensive, and then I would
Where you would feel
feel
not seen,
unheard, like,
Yeah.
well, hey, you're not listening, you're not getting
Yeah.
how this is for me. And then it would just, yeah, and we would just totally miss each other. We
Yeah.
would just, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. This is so classic. This is a classic one.
Classic.
And for
Yeah.
you, Majie, do you wanted to add something?
I'm just remembering one other piece, and then it would come back and I would feel like the bad person.
Oh yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That would be the cycle. And I would go into shame.
Yeah.
So that was the cycle. I would
Yeah.
feel like yeah, and that I was a bad person, putting it on him, having a freak out, like all of it. I would just feel bad about
Yeah,
it, and he would feel bad. We'd both feel bad.
Yeah, and for me, it was about. I mean, my interpretation was that I was feeling blamed. I was the object of unfairness, and then I would feel shame. Then I would feel unsafe. Then I would defend myself. Then there would communication breakdown, and then it would escalate, and then we would feel sad and lonely.
Yeah, of course.
Which is
And
so just to name
yeah,
like classic, like I think a lot of couples listening are like, "Oh yeah." And of
yeah.
course there's different nuances, but yeah, it's powerful to speak to it.
And then so when you hit that place, when the pattern was just kind of repeating in the partnership, once you hit that place, what did that look like? Is that
Sense of separation,
Yeah, I would
a
just
shame. I did
not see
something.
him. I didn't want to be near him.
Yeah, so Shaeah
I
would
would
move
feel
away. Shaeah would kind of move away.
isolate,
It would
go
trigger,
into myself.
yeah, it would trigger my kind of anxious attachment. So I would feel shame, and then I would try to make contact to come back, but it was to come back to some communication, but it was more coming from a place of anxiety.
Mhm. Yeah, uh-huh. Yeah.
And then my guess, Shea, would you feel that part? Like if it came back with the anxiety, you'd feel that, or what would happen for you when
Yeah,
you
I
came back with that?
would feel like, oh, now we have to connect, but it feels so inauthentic. And what do we, I just like, I would just feel so lost and like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, it just felt such a breakdown. I'm like, what do we do with this? We need help. Like,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
because
Well,
both were kind of at a loss. And it was,
Yeah.
and we would try to come back and we would find our way there, but it was strained and it, um,
But
and
there,
there was
but
the hurt
yeah,
was
yeah,
still there. We were still both in the hurt place, and we'd we'd talk about, okay, now we need to repair, and
yeah.
but then the repair felt like forced, and even though I knew it need, it was just, yeah, it just all felt very strained, very hard, very serious, very heavy.
But thank God we had a commitment to return to love, even if we're not putting in those words. We had a commitment
Oh
to
yeah.
return to communication and to relationship. So um, it was a difficult return, but we still wanted that.
Yeah.
And because of my anxiety, because of being more because of being more the wave and share the island, I would want to come back to relationship earlier than what her system probably was ready for.
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, and then that process where the separation would happen or like that breakdown where it felt, not the full repair didn't happen, where you kind of dropped right back into feeling connected. Would this last like an afternoon, a day, a few days? Like what did that look like?
It ranged, sometimes like a half a day or
Yeah,
sometimes a couple days, but we had a commitment early on to not go to bed upset, but
Mhm.
every once in a while we would, and then Majie would have a really bad sleep, and then
right.
and then in the next morning we'd have to sit down and clear it. Yeah,
Yeah,
take the time to clear it.
yeah,
Well, and I love what you're saying here because I think this is really relatable for couples that are in an intentional relationship, is that place where you keep coming back, but you don't feel like you're actually moving through it, right? So you're doing all the things, but then just it's not healing like what's
I
there,
would just
right?
keep going, here it is again. What do we,
Yes.
is
Yeah.
this, is this ever going to end? How are we going to?
yeah. And then as it happens a little more, then it creates more freeway in the brain, pathway,
Anxiousness.
and so then there's, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there was some of that repetitiveness that was really disheartening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I can hear, the inner story can start. All the stacked evidence comes in to build those inner stories of I'm the villain, I'm bad, I'm wrong.
I'm being attacked or there's no place for my feelings, like all of those. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you can't receive me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We know that one, just how much that can create. Like you're there, you're in the room, you're returning the love, but you not the felt sense of really dropping into the intimacy.
Yeah, and because I think dropping into intimacy requires safety,
Mhm.
great
Yeah.
safety. And when you're trying to repair, but the safety isn't really there, it's kind of not a full repair.
Mhm.
That's right.
Mhm. Oh, it's so true. And you can't fake that.
Yeah,
Like you can't like mantra yourself through it or like tell
right.
yourself.
The system says it all.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's right.
And so in the work that we ended up doing together, what was helpful? What was helpful in the work? What ended up being supportive for you?
Quick orientation on that. So
Oh,
those are
yeah.
listening, this is a 6-month container that we worked in, meeting in sessions for an hour and a half period of time. So once we dove into that work together, yeah,
Yeah.
what was helpful about it?
Well, you mentioned about how slowing things down, like reviewing the breakdowns and going over it step by step and tracking our nervous systems. And then at some point we would get to a piece that needed to be looked at. And oftentimes it would be like a core wound, a hurt inner child part. And so we would unpack that, and then the healing would happen, and or clarity, understanding, more compassion. Oh, that's why Majie does that. There's that little boy in there. And so there would be more understanding, more compassion. And like Majie mentioned earlier, you work somatically, and that being a yoga teacher and a body worker, that was really essential for me. Like for me, it has to be the mind body connection. It can't just be mental, like working with the nervous system, with the body, unwinding the whole being. Yeah, there's
Mhm.
more, but I'll let you share a bit too.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think like the core wound was like not doing it right. And I remember we had done a session where um, um, my younger part, because I was dyslexic as a kid. I had learning disability, so it kind of, it's easy for me, especially under stress, to go to, oh, I'm not doing it right, and that brings up the shame and the negative perception of self and all that, and that's when I can get triggered and then get defensive. So for me to work with that part and for Shea to witness it and to see it and to become more aware of it, as it is true for myself, kind of helps to not get too sucked into it. So yeah, just yeah, having the safety to bring up the wounds
Mhm.
and to let them be worked through in a safe way was very helpful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And yeah, to piggyback on that, I just like was able to feel really heard and seen. I remember in bringing up my concerns, bringing up my issues, my challenges, and then also the younger parts really got to be seen and understood. Like, why was I having these strong reactions, or why was there was yeah, there was healing and being really heard and understood.
Mm.
Mm.
Well, and to kind of map this out just for any listeners, what Mike and I like to do and how we like to hold people in those really sticky places, it's not like where there's so many layers, right, of feeling and hurt, is it slowing it right down, like going so slow, getting both people to really be in their body and notice the subtleties, right? Like, oh, there's a tension in my chest, or oh, like there's this like fire in my belly, and really going in, okay, well, let's hang out with that fire in the belly. What? Oh, okay, there's like, I'm angry. Oh, and I'm sad. And just like slowing down to just get to know all the different layers in there and letting it emerge. And what I loved was so beautiful holding space for both of you is because you had this intention of returning to love. It was easier for us to support you and guide you in the place of, when if, Shaya's going in and she's doing that and she's mapping out, oh, and oh, my heart is hurting, and she's going in and feeling these layers. And Majie is there, listening and being really present and being curious. And he's noticing what happens in his body. Um, and and then we would guide, Shaya, like, see what it's like to notice. Can you feel Majie there, that he's with you? Can you look over while you're feeling this pain in your heart? And see that he's making eye contact and he's there. And from a more technical standpoint, what we're doing in that is we're helping build a sense of connectedness, togetherness in those places, right? Like in the places that feel so hurt, helping that part notice, oh, and I'm feeling this fire in my belly and I'm feeling this rage, but I look over and, oh, Majie's right there. Oh, and
Yeah.
he's actually moving towards. And even though, he might need to breathe a bit and he might have some things happening, he's right here. And it's almost like weaving that connection in those places, but we have to go so slow and really having that, yeah, the patience, the presence, but also what I saw, and I'd love to hear you speak to this, you did a little bit, but from the outside, what it looked like too is like if Majie is holding space for Shea to like discover these layers in herself, I would watch Majie, you have all this like aha, like like, "Oh, that's what's happening," or, "Oh, yeah, totally, yeah," and just that, like, the gift that it is to the partner to actually get to know more what's happening without it being your fault, you know?
And just to add a piece to that, often once we would tap into the body, the story of where it actually originally came from would reveal.
Yeah.
Like, oh, this is about back then when it was 5. Like, oh.
Yeah.
And then just from here watching, that's what allows the compassion to come in of, oh, that's not all that's not all about me, which kind of
Exactly.
already starts to drop the weapons of, oh, this is God, Chia's been with this one for 2 decades, and Majie's been with that one for, where it becomes more about the little boy and the little girl, not what's playing out in the present day adult dynamic.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, and you guys were really good about really slowing it down and creating the togetherness in the middle of pain
Yes.
Mhm.
or wound.
Yeah, it was like a rewiring,
Yeah.
like to get that I can actually not feel alone in my pain
Mm.
or not feel alone in all this, like, yeah, all these big feelings. I can actually be safe and seen and understood and loved. The big thing I think was loved in the face of like these big emotions, this big hurt, this big pain, these vulnerable parts. Like there was like, oh yeah, you really guided well. Like yeah, for Majid to just be really with me, and I could feel you with me, and like I'm not alone.
Mhm.
There's support here. I'm safe. I'm loved. I'm cared for.
Mm.
Like this was a lot of rewiring of my system because of how much trauma I had as a child and how much wounding and how much aloneness I felt. I feel like that a lot of that, yeah, dissipated or got rewired.
Mhm.
And yeah,
Mhm.
it was really powerful in that piece for me.
Yeah, I can feel that.
Well, this is the beauty, and this is where we're so excited about the practice of sacred relationship. This is where we get to be allies for each other in being that safe place for the parts of us that maybe have never felt connected. And maybe we don't even know that. Maybe we don't even know there's all these parts that have never felt connected or safe. But this is the beauty of it, right? Is now we get to bring those parts into safety and come more into who we are. And I really felt you both being allies for each other in that. It was really, really beautiful. Yeah.
I feel like that's where the togetherness really gelled, was like, oh yeah, it's and you mentioned this once that really helped too, is like identify when there's a trigger, when there's an upset. That's actually a really ripe opportunity for healing. And that's actually what sacred relationship is all about, is that okay, we're in this container, this commitment to each other and to love. So when there's a trigger, the other person can orient towards, oh, here's an opportunity to help my beloved heal this, because it's obviously a younger part. Most often, like that was really a big aha moment for me when you brought that up in our sessions. It's like, oh, I don't have to we don't have to freak out. This isn't a problem anymore. This is an opportunity for healing. I'm getting chills as I say that. Like
Yeah,
that's
me
like
too.
big perspective shift, like a big, like a whole new realm, like it opened up a whole new um, realm of relating in that way. It's
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, this isn't a problem. This is an opportunity. And we orient towards healing now.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah.
Ooh, what a
Yeah,
gift.
I get chills there too. And just naming, more of the practical on our side too is, the lens that we're holding always is attuning to the soul of your relationship. That's the language we use there. and always just being the advocate for the soul of the relationship, the wise part that, brought you two together and that you two are tending and nurturing. And in the places of forgetting that, us just holding that where there's like a neutrality, equally loving both of you in those places so that your nervous systems can refine it. And, Courtney and I would talk about it, and I get chills there too. Is that's what made the work so easy because you had the foundation of return to love. It's just slowing down in those moments and then offering over the guidance where maybe the nervous system stopped looking for connection or is focused on the story of why this is dangerous. And it's wild to watch in some of those moments how we actually aren't even looking at each other. We're so lost in the past or in that
Yeah.
material.
And it did help also that, because I mean, we hadn't done a lot of therapy really much before as a couple, individually a fair amount, but it was the first time that I did therapy with people, two therapists, a man and a woman, and that was cool. Like, yeah, the presence of the masculine and the feminine was really cool. I really enjoyed this. It created more safety for me. Like he gets, I'm a man, he gets me,
Yeah.
kind of a thing, and yet, I'm both because I'm very sensitive man, so to speak. So I can relate to the feminine presence, but it was really nice to have both and helpful. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, Shay, did you want to share? Thanks for that, Majie. And Shay, do you want to add any pieces to the what was different or unique or helpful with having instead of just a therapist, having a couple support your
Yeah,
guys' relationship?
really significant in the sense that, well, like we mentioned before, there's the modeling that you have of this togetherness and really like listening and honoring each other and giving space for each other's wisdom and perspectives, but also, yeah, for me, I have a lot of wounding with men, and so to have the support of a woman in the presence of two men,
Yeah.
to help heal that, and then
Mm.
also to have another man who I feel safe with, like again that rewiring of sense of safety and building trust, and then having, yeah, your two perspectives and the way you worked harmoniously together. It had an impact on lots of different levels.
And for me, having had an absent father, to have the presence of the masculine that like has my back or can see my perspective. Like, for example, there was a session I can't remember where it was, like the man want to provide for his woman, right? So I can't remember what session it was, but there was this intention that's there, and then it wasn't seen as such. And then it was like, oh my God, shoot, I didn't totally unseen, that need to provide, and to be kind of reinforced and seen by you was really helpful.
Yeah, I get chills there. And what you both are describing so beautifully, and this is what led us to this work, is how much in the healing we need both of those qualities. Like it's almost like what we describe as mothering qualities and fathering qualities when mom and dad are together. Like there's a different quality when they're together, seeing the picture and offering over those qualities in the moment. Because so much of these traumas that we do carry in our body are from that disconnect from mom and dad, where, you named it, Majie, like dad wasn't very present, or, oh, the masculine wasn't safe, or, the feminine was so, overwhelmed with trying to hold the role of the masculine. Not to paint a bad picture of the masculine, but
Yes.
just as an example of some of the dynamics that can play out, there's, us coming together and offering over in those pieces so that your nervous systems can orient. Oh, the feminine seeing that place, or it offers over the tender nurturance to that place,
Mhm.
or even the same, like, oh, the masculine can be the soft and tender and not critical and shaming, but supportive and
Mhm.
acknowledging and reassuring, like how much we all need those
And
qualities.
I think we both came from broken family. I mean, we didn't have both of our parents.
Mhm.
They both
Yeah.
divorced. So there is something that's significant also of having the masculine and the masculine present, helping us through this.
Yeah.
Mhm. Well, and I even know, like, it's been interesting for me because I've been a therapist for a long time and I've worked with couples. And it's been so good for me to be working with Mike because, and I think this is like part of what is so healing about having both, because if it's just me, I'll be seeing it a certain way, I'll have a certain lens. And then it always surprises me actually what Mike comes out with. I'm like, oh, I never, like it's kind of like when the mother is mothering the child and then the father walks in and does something completely different and the mother's like, I don't know. I don't know if that's the right thing. And then actually that's exactly what the child needs. And I've experienced that with me being a therapist is like, oh, wow, I would never have thought of that. And Mike comes in with this totally different ingredient and it's like, oh, that's neat. That was needed. And I can't bring that part. And but even that is the togetherness, right? Like that's the medicine of difference. That's the medicine of having two parents. That's the medicine of is the difference, right? And then also really like for the two of you, like your so much of what you were dancing with is how do we make room for difference and how do we make room for, our strengths and like, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Really.
yeah.
Yeah. So good. And I'm curious, so when we were in the container through that whole journey, were there any parts that stood out as challenging or like, oh, like this part's really
Hard
hard, or
in the
in the
process.
process, like when we would guide how to work with it or
Yeah.
integrate it in the day-to-day living or in the sessions, were there any moments, and it's okay if there's not, were there any moments that stood out like this is hard?
Yeah.
Well, for me, a part that was hard doing the work is I had a fairly constant feeling of like I was the problem. I
Uh-huh.
was the bad one. I was the one the and so and it felt like I was the one who had to do more of the work, or I was the broken one. I don't know.
Mhm.
Not all the way through, but it was yeah, and it's a theme in our relationship too. Like I just feel like the villain sometimes because I'm the one who has like a temper, and I get
Mhm.
angry and I make him feel bad and wrong. And um, so, and then like, okay, I have to look at my stuff. But yeah, it wasn't always like that, but that was something that came up sometime.
And
Mhm.
for me, I think it was more about connecting my defensiveness with my shame.
Mhm.
Mm,
Just seeing that shame was present, and I wasn't that aware of that before, and so the recognition, the acceptance, the seeing that shame was triggered, um, uh, not doing it right, theme, and all that jazz, was the most vulnerable place for me.
Mhm.
And shame is this sticky thing, talking about sticky. It's so generalize everything and doesn't know how to, separate behavior from being and all that jazz. So it's a sticky one, shame.
Yeah,
It's hard to see it. It's hard to be aware of it. We just
Oh yeah.
sink into it so easily.
I think we're both. That's what it was
Yeah.
for me.
Yes.
Shame. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
Yeah.
shame
Yeah.
coming up.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and shame, and we talk about that in the somatic world that shame is very sticky. And so it actually gets to the point we don't even know whose shame it actually is, but we're all feeling shame. And it'll also make us shame, right? Like that
Yeah.
it's like, well, I'm feeling shame, so now I'm gonna shame you, and well, I'm gonna shame you, and it's this like pinging everywhere.
To
You know?
try to get it off, like, oh,
Yeah.
well, if you didn't and you're doing that, then you know, when we talk about
Yeah.
the you statements start flinging everywhere, trying to get out of this
The
sticky,
shame.
icky shame,
Yeah.
which I think almost everyone can relate with on a level.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
the cool thing about it, just to name, right, is the way out of shame is connection. It's always connection. Because shame is the thing that makes us pull back from connection and then go into, so the way through is to re-find connection. But I think what you're speaking to, Majie, there is like that can be the hardest part, is like when we're in shame to actually be seen in it, to actually, it's like super vulnerable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like
Yeah.
yeah, just like you described earlier, Shea, you know, where that shame can come into the piece of, oh, like there's like this is coming up and I'm getting reactive, where we would bring in, like, that's intentional to bring in the reassurance of like, yay, stuff is coming up. You know, it's to meet the places where shame can, you know, feed this information to our mind that this is a problem. Like, oh no, this isn't okay. It's like, no, yay, this is happening. This is healing. This is the process of bringing these more vulnerable places up to be met, and that's like the ultimate. You know, these
Yeah.
shame sticky places need love, reassurance.
For sure.
And one of the things, just to name about this, just with this last little piece about what can be challenging in the work, is a very common thing that can happen for people is we go into the work and you're like, okay, it's going to lead to more love. But then it's like anything, when we go to heal something and we turn towards what's hurting, in some ways, like the pain gets amplified a bit because it's like now we're aware of it. Now these parts are speaking to us now. So, you know, sometimes that can be the most challenging part of the work is, it's getting bigger.
Yeah.
Ah.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you can speak, if you want to speak to any of that experience or how that was for you.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I go to places like this. And it's like, okay, I'm aware of it, but it hasn't really shifted. You know, it hasn't changed. The dynamic is still happening. It's a little bit like, you know, I want to be on a departmental road, but I end up on my brain keeps me getting on the highway, which is what it knows, and what's the habit, and how do I change that to get off that highway and get on the departmental road, and that like, yeah, it's a tricky place. It's like. Now I know all this, but it's not really changing. And this is where commitment comes in. Okay, you know, and trust, like, okay, it's going to change over time. It's about creating new habits. It's about it's not a switch. It happens with new repetitive good experiences, then it really switch more towards the long term.
Yeah.
That's why we like to talk about it as a practice.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Like it's a practice, like we're stepping into the practice of sacred relationship, because then it's like this over time, little shifts, you know? Yeah.
And I can really feel the essence of what you're describing there, Maji, and the compassion,
Yeah.
like bringing the compassion to the parts and the places where it gets sticky so that it can rewire in a new way.
Yeah.
And I'm curious now, those were some of the challenging places. Were there any moments during that container where you felt big breakthroughs or ahas? I know you both kind of spoke to a few already.
Yeah. So one for sure, I remember we were like slowing something down, something that had happened, some breakdown in communication. And it came to this like interesting realization of something from my past. And
Mm.
and then I felt like the three of you were just so holding space for this really hurt younger part that never felt understood or heard or safe. And through working with you, this part got to be seen. And I mean, I mentioned this before and heard, and there was like, yeah, just like a real
something resolved.
Yeah, something resolved in me, like it's like a oh, and
Mm.
like so yeah, this younger part really got to feel safe and feel loved despite of whatever happened. I remember that was a big one for me. And um and really identifying my needs that were unmet as a child, and like one of them feeling important. Like that, I think, is why I often felt frustrated or disappointed, is because of this core wound of like, I'm not important. I don't matter. And so I would create this story in all these little things that Majie would do or how he would do them to mean I don't matter. See, there's proof. I don't matter. See, there's proof. I don't matter. See it. He doesn't care about me. And then when we identified that need in one of the sessions, and Majie really got it. He really got like, oh, Shaeah needs to feel important. And so from that point onward, he's made a huge effort in ongoingly reassuring me in different ways. You're important to me. You matter. Like, and if I start to get a little frustrated, or he'll like you're important to me, and it like helps to just like calm things down again. Like, oh yeah, that's the actual need. It's not like, yeah, that was really big. That was a big piece, and it still helps things be more harmonious and smooth, and I feel that need more fulfilled in me now.
Mm.
You,
Yeah.
important to me. I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
It's amazing though how the mind could like just like I'm not important to him, but of course I am. Like he shows it in so many ways, but my brain would pick up all these ways to prove where I wasn't important to him. But now it's like yeah, it's almost like not even there so much anymore, because it got so resolved in the session, but also the fact that he really got it. And then he's a fast learner. That's one thing I really love about him. When I share something and he really gets it, he puts it into action right away. It's like, oh, yeah, that's been super helpful.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, beautiful, both of you. You know, this just to quickly touch that, the evidence gathering of these wounded places is incredible. It will build a whole reality that's believable in the felt sense. It'll see all the things and the facial expressions. And I just want to name, for those of you that are listening, once our amygdala is activated, it will actually change the appearance of facial expressions to look like there is an actual danger and threat. And so if we start gathering all this evidence and it doesn't get healed, if it doesn't get met, and the piece that you said so beautifully, if it doesn't get seen and understood, it just stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks. And then it just makes it impossible to actually offer over something helpful.
And what's so beautiful about this is there's like in the work, right? There's getting to know what's the wound and what's the hurt, but there's also what's the new ingredient. Like,
Yeah.
oh, this is the need. This is the new ingredient that's needed to actually rewrite the story, which is like such an important part of the work, because now you and Majie, oh, okay, we can show up to create the new experience. Right? But when we don't know what the new experience is, it's hard to do. It's like that's the I don't know what to do, right? So beautiful.
And have the practical, clear step of like, well, what do they do? You know, in Majie, you get to integrate, you matter to me. Like
Yeah.
the reassuring statements. It's like, yay, the together part, the
Yeah.
allyship. Yeah.
Yeah, and even the other day we had something that came up, and you know, there was a lot of talking about it, but it wasn't really settling for me. And I said, oh, let's just hug, let's just connect physically. And just connecting physically, the somatic, choosing to go to somatic connection just helps so much, like my whole nervous system kind of dropped.
Yeah, there was no way it was going to get resolved in the talking.
Yeah.
It was just
And
going in circles. But then then we came back to the love and the
yeah.
connection, and it was like, oh, right, yeah,
So
this is what's matters. This is what's important. This is what we have. This is what's real.
yeah, so I mean, in this container, we didn't, like we were able to really go deep into our own, our own shadow, if you want to call it this way, and work with it constructively as a couple. But then the next phase is using the tools, that we got through working with you and create new pathway in the brain. So that also takes new habits to put in place.
Yeah, that's the commitment piece too, right? Like the choosing, like now we're going to actually go home and do it and put it into practice. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
And so if you could share, what's different now? What does that look like now? You touched on it a little bit there, like an example of where it's different, but just like where are you at now?
I think there is more something for me. There's more understanding. There's more sense of safety, and there's more play, which is all the things that we wanted. I mean, originally, remember we had like set that as goals.
More sense of harmony, unified.
And then it's not perfect, and will it ever be? And that's
Yes.
okay, right? Like because the brain wants perfection, right? And I mean, I don't think it's there really.
Yeah.
But there's definitely like way more. Yeah, we were like wanting that heaviness to be lifted. There's
Yeah.
way more lightness, more
More togetherness.
playfulness, like you said.
Yeah.
Silly, we take more time to be silly, and also sexually, things have gotten a lot better too. If we're gonna get totally honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's the juicy part of it. It's like, oh, deeper emotional intimacy, hotter sex. Yeah.
They're very connected.
Yeah.
Well, and I love what you're speaking to there too. I think it's important to and we've had people tell us that's why they've enjoyed working with us as a couple because our minds, like you were saying, Majie, about projecting out, like there's a perfection that we get to. And then we've had couples watching us and they're like, oh, you're not perfect. You still have
Right.
issues, right? And watching, and then it's like the aha is, oh, it's not about not having issues. It's about getting better and better at navigating the
Yes.
life. It's like it's just having more tools, understanding each other better so that when we hit the rough waters, when we're hitting those places, it's like how do you move through it is more the goal as opposed to the perfection.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
being in that's the sacred relating part. It's just being in the practice of relating from a place of virtue. Can we return to love and be allies
Hmm.
to help each other heal and feel safe in our bodies so that we can play and be in the pleasure because life's a lot more enjoyable there. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
heaven gets to be on earth, not later.
Yeah, and it's life. Like really we're learning and circling back to this visionary relationship because I see you as a visionary relationship meaning you're birthing so many things through your relationship. You're showing up for your community, it feeds your art. Just the life you're building there and being leaders in a lot of ways is the more that you as a couple can stay together in the bigness of life, then you can actually channel more life through your life. Like it's like, you can actually be like more creativity, more sexual energy, more. And I feel that in what you're sharing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Juiciness.
So juicy.
Yeah.
So are there any last little pieces that you two would feel inspired to share or want to name?
I just would say to other couples, jump in. It's really worth it. Those guys are good.
Oh, thanks.
Thank you.
You do hold a beautiful space.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So much gratitude for your realness and
Thank you for helping us in a moment of stuckness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you're so welcome. What an honor and a
Yeah.
privilege to be chosen to be led into some of those places. You know, the healing work, the relational work, it's vulnerable. It can be scary. Like, oh, we're going to be seen in this dynamic. You know, a lot of couples go the whole life avoiding anyone seeing what happens behind closed doors. So to get the honor and the privilege to just build on top of the solid foundation you two already had was so incredible. And it was resourcing for us just getting to offer over our unique gifts to support you two. And yeah, what a gift. What a gift to work with you two. Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to name, they've landed in their beautiful life now in Costa Rica, and now they're grounding in and building their world there.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're some of the most blessed people on the planet,
Yeah,
for sure.
very grateful.
Yeah. Those were some of my favorite moments in the sessions, getting to see the tropical view
Hear the
and hear the birds.
You living your dream, like you made it
Yeah.
happen.
Yeah, you guys are really making it happen.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Thank you
Thank
both for taking the time to share and so that everyone listening can feel the essence of your relationship and what can come from this work too. Yeah, it's palpable.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Worth the
Yeah.
time in to reap the rewards.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you all for listening. Until next time.
Thank you.
Mm.
If you got some value out of this episode, our ask is please go give this a 5-star rating review. It really allows this podcast to reach new couples so they too can deepen the felt sense of intimacy in their relationship, and so that our community can grow. The more of us couples that are sitting around in circle together having these conversations, it makes this world a juicier place to be. That would be so meaningful to us. And thank you once again for tuning in.